Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. We begin with South Korea's first gold medal in taekwondo in 16 years. Tae-joon is bringing home gold in the lightest division in men's taekwondo. South Korean high jumper Woo Sang-hyuk is now on the hunt for gold in the men's high jump event. U.S. stocks wavered on Wednesday, failing to make Tuesday's rebound last. While investor sentiment is slowly leveling out, big tech stocks went through large fluctuations. Following Hamas's announcement of its new top chief, Yahya Sinwar, Israel expressed its commitment to finding and assassinating him. Iran welcomed the new appointment, even calling him a great combatant. South Korea has taken back the #1 spot in taekwondo, finally adding a gold in the traditional martial art at the Paris Olympics. Now it's more meaningful that it's the country's first gold in the sport in 16 years. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Taekwondo is Korea's traditional martial art. It's an event the country long dominated in the past. But for 16 years, the South Koreans failed to win a gold medal in the sport at the Olympics. That all changed on Wednesday when Tae-joon claimed the top podium spot in the men's under 58-kilogram competition. On the first day of Taekwondo competitions in Paris, Park took a commanding lead in the final, winning the opening round 9-0 and the second round 13-1 against Gashim Magomedov of Azerbaijan. However, Magomedov withdrew due to injury with a little more than a minute left, giving Park the gold medal and the country's first ever top finish in the weight class. The gold medal for Park also gave South Korea their 12th gold in Paris, one shy of tying with its previous best. Over in the men's high jump event, South Korea's flag bearer and high jumper Woo Sang-hyuk cruised through in the qualification round to advance to the final. With the top 12 out of 31 jumpers qualifying for the final, Woo tied for third after clearing 2.27 meters. Woo has been one of the top jumpers in the world during the past 3 years, finishing fourth at the Tokyo Games. And another Woo qualified for the finals, this time Woo Haram in the men's 3-meter springboard event on Wednesday. The South Korean, who's considered a medal hopeful in the competition, finished 9th out of 18 divers in the semifinals with 432 points. Woo is hoping to better his 4th-place finish in Tokyo with a place on the podium. And speaking of a podium finish, the South Korean women's table tennis team is now one win away from clinching a spot in the finals and a shot at a podium finish. But the trio of Shin Yu-bin, Chun Ji-hee, and Lee Eun-hye have the tough task of facing off against the top-ranked China on Thursday. A medal in the competition would mean the country's first in team competition in 16 years. Meanwhile, South Korea currently has 12 gold, 8 silver, and 7 bronze medals in Paris, and still have a shot of adding more to the tally. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And South Korean archers returned home on Wednesday with a bundle of gold medals as a clear proof that they are the best, world best in archery. Behind this incredible result were careful, unseen efforts. Choi Soo-hyung tells us more.
In this Summer Olympics, Korean archery won gold medals in all 5 events, coming first in the men's and women's team events, individual events, and the mixed team event. Those results mean Team Korea has maintained its dominance in the Olympic women's team event, where it has won gold at every Olympics since Seoul 1988, when the event was first introduced. The men's team also secured a 3rd consecutive team victory following wins in Rio de Janeiro and Tokyo. Why is Korean archery the best in the world? First, the Korea Archery Association has supported the athletes with a meticulous management system. It's often said that becoming a national team member is harder than winning an Olympic gold medal because the national team selection is based purely on objective scores. As a result, top athletes with remarkable abilities continue to be nurtured across generations. In addition, Hyundai Motor Group, which has been supporting archers with innovative technology for 40 years, played a significant role. For this Summer Olympics, they created self-adjusting shooting robots, serving as a practice partner for Korea's world-class archers and helped them maximize their abilities. The robots automatically calculate wind, temperature, and humidity and demonstrate a high accuracy rate with an average score of 9.65 points, allowing athletes to train as if in real competition. Customized 3D printed bow hand grips were provided to each athlete to ensure the most comfortable draw, and a camera-based heart rate sensor monitors the athlete's conditions. To ensure perfect preparation, the Korea Archery Association created a replica of the Esplanade des Invalides Stadium in Paris, where the archery events took place. As Les Invalides is located right next to the Seine River, they also conducted wind speed training near the Namhangang River, which has similar wind conditions. The Archery Association is now preparing for the next chapter of Korean archery at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics in the U.S. with the best systems and support in place. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Wall Street continued to lose ground as investor sentiment has yet to fully recover. Now, with the biggest losses seen among big tech stocks, our Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
Major U.S. stock indexes closed lower on Wednesday, failing to recover fully from the big sell-offs on Monday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 0.6% lower and the S&P 500 shed nearly 0.8%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq dropped by more than 1%. Throughout the trading session, the three indexes saw morning gains as the Bank of Japan commented that the central bank would not raise rates when financial markets are unstable, boosting market sentiment. Trade involving the Japanese yen has been a key factor in the sequence of events leading to global market volatility, as investors borrowed the cheaper yen to trade into stocks and other assets. But with Japan's central bank raising its benchmark interest rate at the end of last month, paired with weak U.S. economic data stoking fears of a recession in the world's biggest economy, investors have been quick to sell. While investor sentiment is slowly leveling out with Wall Street's losses on Wednesday not as drastic as those seen earlier this week, big tech stocks saw large fluctuations. Nvidia, one of Wall Street's most central companies, started out with a gain of more than 4% before it ended on a loss of more than 5%. Super microcomputer stocks tumbled by more than 20% after it reported lower than expected quarterly earnings. Tesla and Meta platforms also slipped, as well as global homestay platform Airbnb. These latest developments were reflected in the South Korean stock market on Thursday morning, as the country's benchmark Kospi and the secondary Kosdaq both began the day's trading on a low. The Kospi opened around 1.5% lower than the previous day, while the Kosdaq fell by nearly 1.4%. Stocks of chip makers SK Hynix and Samsung Electronics both fell. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Israel remains dedicated to finding, attacking, and potentially killing Hamas's new leader, Yahya Sinwar. The U.S. has also expressed concerns about the appointment, calling Sinwar a brutal terrorist. Choi Min-jung reports.
Israel's military chief of staff has vowed to target the new Hamas leader, Yahya Sinwar. Speaking during a visit to an Air Force base on Wednesday, Lieutenant General Herzi Halavi said the decision to name Sinwar as its new leader will not absolve him from the fact that he is a murderer.
We will make an effort to find him and attack him, and they can replace once again the head of the political bureau.
Sinwar is believed to be the mastermind behind the October 7th attack when Hamas killed more than 1,000 people during an attack on Israel, including citizens from other countries.
Sinwar is a brutal terrorist with blood on his hands, including the blood of American citizens, and not just American citizens, but citizens of many countries around the world.
Israel's attack on Gaza continued despite the change in Hamas's leadership. The Israeli army issued new evacuation orders on Wednesday for Beit Hanun in northern Gaza. This comes as Israel announced it would forcefully and immediately operate against terror groups in the region, following a rocket attack fired from the area. Meanwhile, top Iranian commander Abdulrahim Musavi welcomed the appointment of Sinwar as the new political head of Hamas, calling him a great combatant. He added that the new leadership means that Israel will have to give up hopes of survival and collapse. Hamas on Tuesday chose Sinwar as its new leader after Ismail Haniyeh was killed in Iran last week by a strike which is presumed to have been launched by Israel. Regional tensions have soared after the killing. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
With the growing fears over the potential for a full-blown conflict in the Middle East, the UK and Egypt have issued alerts to their airlines to avoid Iranian and Lebanese airspace. Egypt instructed all of its airlines to refrain from flying over Iran's airspace for a period of 3 hours early Thursday morning. And shortly after, the UK advised its airlines to avoid Lebanon's airspace. Flight tracking website Flight Radar 24 showed that British carriers are currently not flying to Lebanon. Similarly, many global airlines are revising their flight schedules due to security concerns. Washington has urged North Korea to return to dialogue, stressing near consensus among the international community against provocative actions by the regime. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller made the remarks on Wednesday, following U.S.-Australia Defense and Foreign Ministerial meeting in Maryland. The two sides called for a complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula in their joint statement. Miller added that Washington will continue to promote denuclearization despite the absence of dialogue with Pyongyang by continuing to consult with its allies and partners, adding that it's not just the U.S. calling for a return to diplomacy. And amid concerns that North Korean landmines along the inter-Korean border could be washed into the south by torrential rains, Miller said that the North should stop such destabilizing actions. North Korean athletes at the Paris Olympics have reportedly received Samsung smartphones. Now, this has raised the concerns of potential violations of a UN sanction that bans the supply of electronic devices to North Korea, as they can be used for military purposes. A senior official at the Ministry of Unification told reporters on Thursday that while there is a possibility of violations, it is the International Olympic Committee that should answer the concerns. Radio Free Asia reported that the IOC distributed Samsung's Galaxy smartphones to all athletes at the Paris Olympics, including those from North Korea. Samsung Electronics said that the distribution is solely up to the IOC and that the company is not involved in this matter. Rival political parties here in South Korea have been engaged in a fierce confrontation in recent weeks. But on Wednesday, the rival party's chief policymakers sat down for collaborative efforts on people's livelihoods. Our correspondent Lee Si-hoo reports.
A bipartisan body for joint policy discussion. That's what the rival parties called for in unison on Wednesday, over 2 months into the 22nd National Assembly, which has so far passed 0 pieces of mutually agreed legislation on people's livelihoods. The ruling People Power Party floor leader Chu Kyung-ho urged what he called a ceasefire of political strife and said that working-level negotiations to form a consultative group between the rival parties and the government, something he's previously suggested, will begin immediately. This following the main opposition Democratic Party floor leader Park Chan-dae's comment earlier in the day, calling for a prompt formation of a standing consultative body to, quote, overcome issues concerning the economy and people's livelihoods. These intentions highlighted by Wednesday's first ever meeting between the party's chief policymakers in the current assembly.
We will put in efforts to possibly process negotiable bills that can be accepted by both parties for the sake of people's livelihoods.
We think that the legislations, where there aren't large differences in opinion between the parties, can be quickly processed.
They mentioned common ground, especially in childcare, housing, and necessary improvements to the current Nursing Act, heavily debated in the previous assembly, sharing a mutual will to continue fine-tuning legislative details for speedy lawmaking.
Despite all this, there is potential for further political strife in the August assembly, as it faces issues the parties are far apart on, including the additional contentious hearing on the country's broadcasting watchdog coming up in the next few days. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
A member of the South Korean boy band group BTS Suga has apologized for his drink driving incident. Suga on Wednesday apologized for driving what he called an electric kickboard on Tuesday night and added that he was unaware that drink driving laws apply to such vehicles. He has been fined and his license is being revoked. However, the police stated that Suga's vehicle had a seat, which may subject him to criminal punishment as an electric scooter falls under traffic law. Suga reportedly fell in front of his house while parking the vehicle, and a nearby officer administered a test after realizing he was drunk. Hyundai Motor Group won 17 Newsweek Autos Awards this week, marking the highest number of these awards the group has ever won. Kia has won 8, Hyundai 6, and Genesis 3. The awards were given out in 13 categories based on consumer purchasing behaviors. Hyundai's Elantra was recognized as the best vehicle for first-time new car buyers and the top pick for urbanites, while Kia's Sportage was recognized as the best car for commuters. Hyundai Motor Group recorded the most awards for 3 consecutive years from 2021 to 2023 at the awards, and this year it tied for the lead with Toyota.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. Thousands of counter-protesters took to the streets in the UK on Wednesday against the recent violent protests that erupted following the deaths of 3 children in the Southport stabbing. Thousands of anti-racism protesters gathered in the capital, London, on Wednesday to counter-protest the expected far-right groups. Crowds of counter-protesters also took to the streets in Birmingham, Bristol, Liverpool and Hastings, holding banners that read "Fight Racism," "Stop the Far Right," and "We'll trade racists for refugees," while chanting "Hate not welcome here" and "Racism off our streets." Earlier online posts said that far-right protesters would target a number of immigration and migration support centers, as well as specialist law firms on Wednesday, forcing many businesses to close early and some even board up their windows. The government said they had reserved a so-called standing army of 6,000 specialist police officers to respond to reports of violence. The National Police Chiefs Council stated that 428 arrests were made in connection to the riots, and more than 120 of those have already been charged. In Thailand, the Constitutional Court on Wednesday ordered the dissolution of the reformist Move Forward Party, which won last year's election, saying that the party's effort to amend the royal defamation laws was unconstitutional. Wednesday's ruling also banned the Move Forward Party's former leader, Peter Limjaroenrat, and current chief Chaithawat Sulathon, as well as 9 other senior party figures from politics for 10 years. This follows the Election Commission filing a petition against the Move Forward Party after the Constitutional Court ruled in January that the party's attempt to amend the Section 112 of the Thai Criminal Code, or the lèse majesté law, was unconstitutional. The banned former party leader, Limjaroenrat, however, said that he would ensure that the remaining reformist lawmakers continued to work, saying that, quote, "The political project continues in a new vehicle which will be introduced on August the 9th. As only 11 senior figures were banned from political activities, the 142 Move Forward MPs who survived the verdict are expected to transfer to other parties to continue their role as the main opposition in parliament. Moving over to Russia, a state of emergency has been declared on Wednesday in the Kursk region of the country as a rare cross-border attack by Ukrainian forces continued for a second day. The Russian Defense Ministry said on Wednesday that it was fighting intense battles against hundreds of Ukrainian troops that penetrated its southern border near the town of Sudza, where a major natural gas transmission hub is located. The Sudza gas hub is the only point of entry for Russian gas into the EU. Earlier the same day, Russian President Vladimir Putin called the attack another major provocation by the Kiev regime, while the acting regional governor of the Kursk region said thousands of people have been evacuated from the border areas. The Kremlin added that the Ukrainian forces were supported by 11 tanks and over 20 armored combat vehicles, while Russia's health ministry reported 31 civilian injuries. The U.S. White House spokesperson, Karine Jean-Pierre, stated on Wednesday that the U.S. had no prior knowledge of the Ukrainian incursions and that it will contact Ukraine to understand the objective of the offensive. Banksy, a famed pseudonymous street artist whose real identity remains secret, revealed a third new stencil-style artwork in London on Wednesday. The newest artwork, featuring 3 swinging monkeys, was found on a bridge over East London's Brick Lane, close to the Shoreditch High Street. This is the third piece to be unveiled just this week, following a depiction of a goat on a ledge with falling rocks in Richmond on Monday, and an image of 2 elephants poking their heads out of windows, which appeared in Chelsea on Tuesday. The latest artwork was confirmed as authentic through a post on the artist's Instagram account. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Keep an umbrella handy should rain on and off throughout the day today. Central regions could see 5 to 60 millimeters of rain. Southern provinces will see passing showers with up to 80 millimeters in the forecast, along with thunderstorms. Downpours expected for Gyeongsang-Namdo province today. However, rain does not mean heat relief for most of us. It will continue to be oppressively hot in most parts. Well, Gyeongju saw temperatures soaring to 38.4 degrees yesterday, but at least today's rain should give some relief to Gyeongju this afternoon. Meanwhile, Seoul and Tae-joon should be topping out at 33 degrees, Busan at 34 degrees Celsius. Well, it is the summer vacation season here in Korea, but major outdoor attractions are less crowded this year due to searing heat. Many seem to be choosing indoor activities. Sweltering heat stays in place until next week with on and off showers. And with high heat and humidity, food safety is also a must around this time. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
That is all we have at this hour. Arirang News will be back at 2 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.